So Priscilla, you were saying, go ahead. Why don't you share that with everybody?
For me, when I start a meditation and I check the time and I shut my eyes, if the focus, if I have done it, I open my eyes and I feel like time. I am surprised when I look at the clock at how much time has passed when for me it seemed very short. So the my mind has rested in such a way. Uh, it's um, happened many times, and I'm always surprised. And uh, coming out of it, I feel a little different, but it's the surprise about time.
Yeah, about how much time has passed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it seems like you mentioned you're surprised at how many minutes have passed, but it didn't seem that long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That I mean, there might be a time when it's even, I thought it might be I was checking to see, I'd open thinking, where am I at? And then be surprised that it might be like 7 minutes when I thought time has just moved along in a different way for me.
Right. Let's talk about that. Thanks for sharing that. So the reason that happens sometimes in meditation is, I mean, time is still happening, you know? Time is just a measurement of change. And is change still happening while we're meditating? Of course. Um, Time is still occurring, and it's not that our watch is broken. It's just that our experience of time is very different. Now, why does that happen sometimes in meditation? That happens sometimes in meditation because when the mind gets out of what I refer to sometimes in my classes as the 8-inch bucket part of itself, just that focusing, ruminating, thinking about the meaning of stuff type of parts of our mind. That's what I refer to as the 8-inch bucket part of our mind. It's an analogy that I talk about. It's called the Houston Astrodome analogy. If you've seen any of my other videos or go on my website, turningwithin.org, and you can click on and see that analogy on the audio clip page. But it's an analogy that I borrowed from a professor at the University of Houston in Texas, um, where the Astrodome was first built. But this little 8-inch bucket part of our mind is a part of the mind where most people who don't meditate live their life, their whole life, their 60, 70, 80, 100-year life, and they die never having experienced anything outside of the 8-inch bucket part of their mind, what the professor called the 8-inch bucket part, the focusing part of our mind. Whereas the rest of our mind is what he referred to as the rest of that huge football stadium, seats 90,000 seats that people don't even explore in his analogy. And so, what I teach in Turning Within meditation is a very simple technique, easy, effortless, not focusing type technique, not clearing the mind type technique, where it quickly allows the mind to get out of the 8-inch bucket. And that's what Priscilla was just describing, where that's the reason why she experiences this odd experience of time where time seems to pass so quickly. And she's surprised and looks at her watch and, oh, wow, 10, 15 minutes has passed or whatever. And it felt like 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. It's because her mind has gotten out of the 8-inch bucket part of itself, and it's starting to experience the rest of the mind, the football stadium part of the mind. And that's the reason why that experience of time seems so different. And the interesting thing is that when you hear my students talk about this, you'll find that they still are experiencing that their mind is aware. It is still thinking. Now, I define thinking as any awareness of anything. So even awareness of oneself in this different way that we're describing is an awareness, is a thought, is an experience. Any experience that can be experienced, in my definition of thinking, is a thought. So when you hear other meditation teachers and describe their techniques and they describe their intention to try to have no thought, I say that's a mistake, that it's not having no thought, it's experiencing thought in a very, very different way, in a much more perhaps abstract way than this little 8-inch bucket part of our mind, the way we're used to experiencing thought in this very focused, meaning, content-oriented way. Instead, it is possible to experience thought in a much more abstract way that's not really meaning or content oriented. And that's a natural, spontaneous outcome of the way that I teach turning within meditation. And that is a description, you could say, in the Houston Astrodome analogy of our experience of the mind way outside the 8-inch bucket part of itself, the, you know, far reaches of the football stadium that seats 90,000 or 100,000 people. That is still our mind. That is still our individual mind. And it's part of the human mind, human consciousness, our mind. It's part of that mind, part of our mind that most people never ever experience their entire life. And so think about that from an enjoyment of life standpoint of how restricted people's enjoyment of life is. Most people on planet Earth never having experienced anything outside of that little 8-inch bucket focusing part of their mind that concentrates and focuses and pays attention to stuff. That's why anxiety and depression disappear when people practice turning within meditation that we teach. That's why people start to experience a much more spontaneous sense of their larger sense of self. It's them. It is you. It is your mind that you're experiencing way outside the 8-inch bucket part of itself. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Priscilla.